So, my fifth time trying to make this. So, I'm going to start it off with the basis. This is going to be about the truth about metabolic syndrome, which gives you diabetic weight, diabetes, and heart failure, serotonin syndrome, which has many symptoms, one being high temperatures. And I specifically mentioned the high temperatures part because something I'm going to read has something to do with that. And then, why don't people in the Cash for Kids system wait? Well, why people in the Cash for Kids system don't have rights, or kids, period. But I mean, really, a lot of people. But it's specifically going to be about people in the Cash for Kids system and just the institution systems. I hate the fact that I've already had to retry this 5 times. So, I guess. Okay, I was about to say, I know that this does not say I'm not recording. Anyway, so to start this off, I guess I could go ahead and say that I'm going to put the Cash for Kids system playlist in the description. But the first thing I'm going to have in the description is the new video I made. Is my voice cracking? Let me just keep going. Let me not get sidetracked. The new video I'm going to put in the description that is on this channel, where I made a better version of me explaining the Cash for Kids system, because I realized that when people talked about the Cash for Kids system, they were only naming certain parts, or they were specifically thinking about TTIs or foster care. But actually, the Cash for Kids system is a lot bigger than just TTIs and foster care. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry of child abuse, which isn't even connected to the whole sex trafficking thing. Because I know a lot of people think about that. Sex trafficking is actually something way totally else, not really that close to the same thing. Although, I mean, I guess it could be kind of similar to some TTS, especially once they got shut down in like the boarding schools that were owned by like cults, because there were TTIs where like they used a lot of cult torture mechanisms, and then there was a lot of boarding schools, like anything with Catholic, anything with the Roman Catholics, you already know. The Roman Catholic Church is like, there's a lot I could say about that. And I mean, if you want to message me about it, I could tell you about that. But that's like, I would get off topic if I was to even go in to the whole thing with the Roman Catholic Church, where they're like the first worst thing to ever happen. And that's, yeah. Anyway, sex trafficking is totally something else. But the foster care system commonly does, well, it's known for, I don't know what I was about to say, but it's known for people going missing. So commonly people go from the foster care system and then they end up sex trafficked, or they end up in child prostitution, which, even though that's sex trafficking too, overall sex trafficking and child prostitution and prostitution is like two different things, because it's different things going on. But I can't say that like it is sex trafficking, but just not like the main type. But you can definitely go from prostitution sex trafficking to the other types of sex trafficking that are like one of the, I don't even remember what I was about to say. But yeah. Anywho, so there's that. Then shows like Dr. Phil and Beyond Scare Straight are also parts of the Cash for Kids system, because I don't know if I mentioned that in the remake of the Cash for Kids system mapped out or explanation video. But like, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Beyond Scare Straight, that was actually canceled because of the fact that people were seeing a lot of the truth of the prison industrial system, which the American school system is also connected to that, but it's also part of the Cash for Kids system. So of course, because there's a school to prison pipeline. But anyway, there were people in there that were kids in prison who were what was I gonna say? Dang, now I'm losing my train of thought. I guess because I'm getting tired, or because I always do. But they really shouldn't have been in there with the time that they were given, like life sentences, because they like to give people under 18 life sentences. And a lot of people see the whole ethnicity thing, but I really see that the truth is people hate kids. Okay, wait a minute. I skipped over it. I was supposed to be finishing up. So there was this boy in there who was like 18, 17, and he had a life sentence, and people made a petition to get him out, and he actually got out and went to college. So that's why they ended the show. Now, to what I was just saying when I changed the subject, is that what I see it as is people hate kids. Of course, the whole ethnicity thing is always there because a lot of these systems were made originally for eugenics for like certain tribes. I wouldn't even just say certain ethnicity. Well, yeah, that's kind of the same thing. Certain tribes or ethnicities or whatever. And there's this black people thing that people say a lot, but the thing is, black is a derogatory term to confuse people about who's who. And all quote unquote black people aren't the same people anyway. That's why, like, the people that, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but I'm just going to leave it at that, because then I'll go into something else, and this will be 20 minutes again, 22 minutes again when I haven't said jack. So, dang, okay. So, yeah, people hate kids, and that's why we live in a world where now people will have a baby, and then whenever they feel like, they'll get mad at the dad after having a baby, and then to make the dad feel upset, they'll go live on Facebook suffocating a newborn with blankets and stuff, or they'll just drown their kids in the bathtub, which I know there's a lot of stuff behind that, and I'm not really blaming anybody for anything, but I'm just saying that the point, well, I mean, there's already no accountability, so I mean, somebody needs to blame somebody, but anywho, the point is, people hate kids. So, now I can start. I'll start with this part. Or maybe you guys could just read it, because really, if I read it, it's going to take forever. So, you can pause it or whatever. But won't I still have to read this anyway? I feel stupid. No, wait a minute. I forgot I'm supposed to let other people pause it. Okay, so there's that. And then there's this part, which I swear I was supposed to edit together, but I don't know what happened to that. Okay, so as you see right here, they have the whole all men are created equal thing. That was never true. The Europeans who made the constitutions after still in the U.S. to use it for what they wanted to use it for, they only seen Caucasian Eastern Europeans, or Europeans, but specifically Eastern Europeans, as human. So that's what they mean when they say that. So it's not even just about the whole age thing, even though that's what I mainly focus on, because a lot of people aren't seen as people, especially like melanated people, even though most people were melanated people, and there's a lot I can say about that too. But then I'll be off topic. Then there's this that says you have the natural rights to defend yourself, basically, which isn't true. Oh, and I forgot to say, one of those or both also say that you or is it this one? I think it's maybe all of them say that your freedoms can only be taken away if you're found guilty of a crime, and that's not true. I mean, people already know that's not true, because like I said, a lot of these institutions with the whole mental health system and prison industrial system were originally started off for eugenics, so of course it wasn't based on anything wholesome and good. Not to mention, before the mental health system was made, people already knew how to treat mental illnesses and didn't lie about what caused them, like the whole trauma thing. But once the mental health system came, honestly, a lot of the bad systems, they come behind white supremacy and house Negroes, but it starts off with white supremacy. And then that's when everything goes left and these systems are created. Then there's this that says everybody has the right to life, liberty, the state of property, and one of them said happiness too, and that's definitely not true, because you can't be happy while locked up. And also, I'm gonna go over some stuff eventually. Then there's that. Then there's this. And as you know, the people who lie about what all happened during the Holocaust are some of the people who made psychiatry. Still, at the end of the day, it's European, so it was about white supremacy. And they always act like melanated people weren't killed too during the Holocaust. And there's so much I could say about that, but that's also irrelevant somewhat. Okay, so now I can go into the point. So, the point is, I guess I'll start off with the this right here, and I'll put the playlist in the description. I might have already said this, where like I go over my whole Munchausen syndrome by proxy situation, or at least the diagnosis thing. Well, same thing. And then there's the other ones where I go over different side effects I have while on the drugs. I don't even know which ones. I was on a lot of different ones, and this all happened at 12 because that's when, well, like I said in the videos, the Munchausen syndrome by proxy situation got really bad at 12. The second time I moved in with my mom, but it kind of all started the first time I moved in with her. But due to her domestic violence situation, she wasn't able to carry out her whole plan like she wanted to. So it wasn't until the second time I moved in with her where she was really able to carry out the whole Munchausen syndrome by proxy situation because her husband was gone. So yeah, anyway, I'm falling asleep doing this. Okay. So, as you may know, psychiatrists will lie to you and tell you that the drugs have no side effects and all of that stuff, but actually, they're made to turn off certain neurotransmitters or pathways or whatever, so that way they can block certain chemicals and certain neural pathways to supposedly stop a chemical imbalance that's most likely, or I'll say usually, not even there. The drugs actually create a chemical imbalance, which is why, one of the reasons why the people who are shooting up schools are on these drugs. And so basically, they cause a chemical imbalance, they kill brain cells, and all of this leads to hundreds of neurological, mental, and physical problems that eventually lead to death. So, with the whole homeostasis thing that hopefully people have read by now, that is like really connected to the serotonin syndrome, because like I said, it causes, no I didn't, I haven't said that yet. Did I say? I think I did. One of the symptoms of that is high temperature. So like I remember this was like one of the symptoms I always had, always, every time I took them, and it wasn't even until after that whole part of the situation was over that I found out that serotonin syndrome is supposedly one of the symptoms, and that means you're supposed to go to the hospital. But anyway, so serotonin syndrome is when the drugs knock off your homeostasis and make your body temperature way higher than it's supposed to be, which is deadly. It also causes a lot of other side effects, and that's because it's creating a chemical imbalance, which gives you higher serotonin levels than you're supposed to have. There we go. So I know the last time the whole drug thing happened, I got PGAD. I don't think that's that common. And the usual, wait, no. The last time I already said that part. And I also got the 3-day coma things. They'll tell you that you're asleep, but really the 8 to 16 hour sleep, that's not sleep. That's short comas. So the drugs aren't just making you sleep, they're actually giving you short comas. But if it's bad enough, like the last time I was on them, it can last longer than that, which is why I'd be quote unquote sleep for 3 days and stuff like that. And then there's the double vision, blurry vision, heart palpitations, fast heartbeat, accelerated heartbeat, slurred speech, bad balance, bad coordination. So I couldn't really see, I couldn't walk. And also the last time I was on them, or the first time it happened, really, when I would go to the eye doctor, because the last time I was on them, I didn't go to the doctor at all. That's another story, another long story. And when I went to the eye doctor, they would always try to figure out why my pupils were so dilated, because they didn't know that I was in this situation that I was in. with the whole Munchausen syndrome by proxy that had me having the issues I was having. So the eye doctors were always trying to figure out why my pupils were dilated, not stopped. But that's what caused double vision and blurry vision, because the drugs, they mess up when you turn off parts of the brain, it messes up the whole body. That's why all these problems happen, from the neurological problems to the mental and physical ones. The brain controls the whole body, as you should know. Is that rude? I hope that doesn't sound rude. That probably is. Anyway, it controls the whole body. So when parts of that are being turned off and brain cells are being killed and neural pathways are being blocked, which is what they're made to do. That's really what they say. They say block, not turn off. But that's the same thing. It messes up everything. Yeah, so I should have changed my screen timeout settings. Hopefully, I'll finish this before it turns off on me again like that. So anyway, last thing I was saying was, when neural pathways are blocked, it messes up everything in the body. So, what's next? The metabolic syndrome. Okay, so with the metabolic syndrome, that is when the drugs are giving you weight gain. But really, well, no, I shouldn't even start it off like that. The psychiatrist will tell you that you're just gaining weight, but actually it's diabetic weight. And what's actually causing it, the full term for it, is metabolic syndrome, which is when the drugs are giving you diabetes and heart failure. Have you thinking it's one thing and that it's not that serious, or they'll just make you think that all the whole side effect thing is all in your head and that there are no side effects. That's what they commonly do. They gaslight you, but really it's serious stuff going on. When this happens, it's due to like I said, the whole neural pathway blocking, and so it messes up how your body regulates. Dang, I almost fell. How your body regulates different. You know what? I'm trying to find a good way to explain it the way I know how, because it's just not coming out right. Basically, the normal body processes that your body usually knows how to do, it can't do because parts of the brain are turned off, and there's so many chemical imbalance due to the psychotropics. So yeah, I mean, like lithium. Lithium is a whole metal, and they really have people eating metals and stuff. I mean, I remember when I had a talk with somebody about this, and it's like, people don't even know how seriously dangerous all of this stuff is. It messes up how your body regulates glucose and sugar and hemoglobins and all that. And then it messes up your pancreas. It also messes up your kidneys and other body parts. But that's a whole other topic. And so it gives you diabetes slowly. It slowly gives you diabetes. Well, actually, not even really slowly, I don't think, because I know the whole weight gain thing starts happening within 2 weeks straight of being on the drugs. So, I mean, I would say, yeah, slowly, because even though the weight gain starts happening quick and heart problems start happening quick, which could also be part of the serotonin syndrome and other side effects that mess with the heartbeat and gives you heart murmurs, but it usually takes a while, like a few years of being on them before you actually go to the doctor, and then they test you and they say you have full-blown diabetes. Like, when I was at MTSD High, my teacher, I don't even remember his name now, which I wouldn't say it anyway, but my teacher I used to have, he got the diabetes from being on them. And just like with the whole really bad side effect I had, that was like the worst one, the turning off the bowels. They claim that you're just having constipation, and then they'll tell you that you're not drinking enough water, which I still keep forgetting to make the video about how everybody gaslighting me while I was literally on the verge of death, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, like what they did to me, they just said I wasn't drinking enough water, even though due to me being in the money situation I was in, which is part of why my mom started the whole diagnosis thing, because she needed the SSI check to pay the bills and stuff. We didn't have anything to drink unless it was Kool-Aid, and then sometimes milk. So the only thing I was drinking all day was water. So, I mean, there was nothing else I could be drinking. and they lied and said I wasn't drinking enough water. They'll tell you that you just need to exercise or give your stomach a massage, and they'll tell you a whole bunch of dumb, crazy stuff. But really, the drugs slow down. I really want to say turn off, but the one thing I did say where somebody did admit this in an article, they say slow down the neurotransmitters that make your bowels work, which also leads to other digestive problems, which is why my dad's aunt actually died from this same thing. And she got the metabolic syndrome weight, and she got diabetes from it, and she had heart failure too from it, or she was getting it or whatever in the world. When she died, they lied and said she just had a stroke. But what actually happened was, she probably had a stroke too, because I really feel like if the stroke thing was true at all, she probably had a stroke or heart attack or whatever because of the fear of just being in this situation in the moment. But her bowels burst due to the fact that they had been turned off so long. Because, you're lucky if you can, at least use the bathroom every 2 weeks. I know there are those times where I would get lucky at the very end of the month because I did almost die from this. And this was it's actually kind of funny now looking back that one of the most traumatic parts of my life was constipation. But even though it may sound funny a little bit, it's still a really terrible situation anyway. So they turn off the bells, and then once you can't use the bathroom at all for 30 days, you may be lucky and survive a little bit longer. And then your bowels get impacted, and then they burst, which is what happened to her. Her bowels burst, and so the feces leaked out on the inside after her bowels burst on the inside of her. But not only that, it came out both ends. So it came out her butt and her mouth after her bowels burst. And then they just said she had a stroke. So this is what these people do. And the craziest thing about it is that, there was really no reason for psychiatry to be made in the first place, or the mental health system. Well, because before that was all made originally for eugenics purposes. People knew how to cure these things with plants and just regular therapy stuff too. Because, since they used to admit that this comes from trauma and stuff back then, and could be generational. Because, the generational thing, genetic thing is true too, but still, even if it is quote unquote genetic, that means something's wrong with the parents too, because they'll try to pull that, but then they won't act like something's wrong with the parents that are perpetrators that are giving their kids mental illnesses. But yeah, so there's really no point for them to make this, and then they make it all as a money scheme, and they're killing people, and they're killing babies, and there's a whole bunch of people locked up in these facilities for problems that they don't even have. Because, a lot of people are in the same situation as me. If it wasn't that they actually had the problems that they were labeled with, which was still kind of, they would have the label they actually really had, but of course, every time somebody gets locked up, a label has to be put on them and they have to get drugged because that's how the people make their money. So they could really have bipolar from their abuse, and they'll get labeled bipolar at one place, but then when their parent gets them put in another place, whenever the parent gets mad at them about not washing the dishes or something, that place will label them with something else that they really don't have because they have to put the label on them to get the money. So I forgot what point I was even trying to make, but I completely lost my train of thought at this point, especially because I'm having flashbacks. I think I was trying to give a little short description of how these pills cause some of the problems they do from just throwing off body chemistry. I think I'm done with this part here, to be honest. As individuals, wait a minute. I didn't already read this split. I already went over the part where I hope people pause it to read it. So, the whole everybody having rights thing. So, as you may know, if I didn't already say this in the first part, which I hope I'll have enough space to edit these together, a lot of this stuff was made as part of eugenics. So, the prison industrial system, in the school system, which the American school system, which I probably already said is a part of the Cash for Kids system, because of the special ed stuff and then the school to prison pipeline. So the American school system is a part of the cash for kids system because the special ed systems that they have. Okay, wait a minute, I'm out of breath. Special ed systems that they have where they store traumatized kids, and then not only the special ed systems that they have, but the alternative school system, which there are so many documentaries, which, like I said, these TV series are also part of the cash for kids system, like Dr. Phil. And so they'll have these TV series where they're just recording the normal day in alternative school full of a whole bunch of people who are, it's not even just about them being subjected to red line, it's just the fact of all the social conditioning that was done to slave trade descendants. And now there's a whole bunch of issues. The dads are in jail. Then there's so much stuff that the white supremacist females had dragged the quote-unquote black woman into. And I say quote-unquote because black is a derogatory term to confuse people about who's who and who's what. But they dragged black females into to get them away from the guys, which then caused a whole bunch of extra trauma. And then the women were messed up. And everything just went completely left. And it's like, so much social conditioning was done to slave trade descendants, which is one of the reasons why there's so much generational trauma and generational mess, and we're commonly in the system, which actually, that reminds me of something. They try to make it a whole color thing, like how certain people act and like being quote unquote ghetto or whatever. And actually, that reminds me of the whole Holocaust thing. And if you don't know, the ghetto was the Jewish corner of the city. That's just a little fun fact. Anyway, they have these little, I wouldn't even say stereotypes. Is that a stereotype? I guess it is. But where they call certain people ghetto, and then they'll say that all quote unquote black people, or specifically slave trade descendants, are ghetto. Because they know exactly which people that they're talking about, because all of the quote unquote black people aren't acting the same. Which is why certain ones they don't go after for a couple different reasons. But really, most of the stuff that's considered ghetto is about being traumatized. Like, a lot of stuff that's considered ghetto is revolving around trauma, like sexual trauma, so promiscuity. Even though it's funny that the main white supremacists that say this, say what they say, because they already know that every time that they put people in slavery, melanated people in slavery, the slavery also consists around sexual abuse, which causes a lot of generational trauma and sexual issues. So they say this stuff to try to make certain groups of people feel bad, but also to try to like beat around the bush of what the real problem actually is, because the real problem is trauma before anything else. Because things that are considered ghetto, like I was just saying, is trauma symptoms and being sociopathic or narcissistic. And so yeah, that's that. So these systems started off for eugenics and then were also used to traumatize all the kids, which there's a lot of stuff behind why they want to do this, but they make a lot of money off of it too. And so I feel so off topic. Ever since I messed up that last time, which I hope I'm gonna have enough space to edit out, I just completely forgot what the main point was supposed to be. But like, now they have kids of all different ethnicities and colors in there, because people they really hate kids. And it seems like, or actually it's obvious that their goal is to have a lot of traumatized people walking around for whatever reason. They want a lot of messed up people in the world, which is why they have all these different systems to further traumatize and abuse and mess people up. And they claim you have rights, but really a lot of people don't. And so, man, I lost my train of thought so bad. I feel mad now, but I'm not doing this a seventh time. I know that. I'm definitely not about to do all that. So, with the whole rights thing, basically, did I already mention this? Or was this in the last? I think that was the last time I tried to make this. So, the only person I ever seen actually say they got to have their court case they were supposed to have before you get put in a mental institution was 18 plus. And it was also because they were considered educated because they were in college for like law or something like that. So they were able to prove that their psychiatrist was crazy, and their psychiatrist had actually called the police to get them locked up because they get paid more when they do that. And so basically, I really hope I didn't already say this in this part, well, this video, but basically they what was I saying? Damn. I dissociate so much I might as well just stay off the internet. Well, basically I'm just dissociated too much now. I guess I don't know because of flashbacks or whatever. So whatever I remember that I didn't say here, because I'm probably gonna watch over it, I'll just put it in the description. And so that's the end of this. I was supposed to make another video too, but I might as well call it a day at this point.